The metal fans right here will hurt you if you run into them, so you should try your best to avoid them. If you see any boulders in this game, they can be destroyed by the Sword of Earth, and most of the puzzles in this dungeon in particular require the Sword of Earth because that's the only sword you have up to this point. That Mystic doesn't really play a part in the story either. You can rescue him, but there's nothing you really gain from it. And despite this being a room with 5 chests, I'm pretty sure about 3 of these chests contain rocks, and those rocks aren't really used for anything either. When you find iron and steel parts in this game, if you take them to the inventor, who you saved in Wellspring Woods, what he can do with them is he can make certain items. The gates don't require the Sword of Earth to be destroyed, you can just slash them like I did there. The coins that you find in this game operate in a system of gold, silver, and bronze, with gold of course being the highest.
I am most grateful.
Now the Mystic we saved there is actually required for the story, and he actually has some pretty good use. He's the head of the arena, and in the arena you can do fights for items, and the items that you find in the arena can't be found anywhere else in the game, so they're pretty valuable. I'm going to be going to the arena later in this game. I'm going to be doing some of the fights to get certain items, and the items I'm fighting for are basically the ones that allow you to use the sword's powers at half of the MP. There are other items that I'm going to find too, but those are the ones I really want the most. I used the Sword of Earth's power because I was worried about getting hit by the enemies, but I ended up getting hit by the fans anyway. Now that I don't really have many HP recovery items left, if I get hit, Musashi will die and I'll have to restart the whole thing, which is pretty bad, but that's why I carried burn biscuits in the first place. if you ever find these little pathways, you should go down them because they usually lead to items. And sometimes they lead to money as well, and usually large amounts of money. The reason I'm saving that item I just got, that HP and MP recovery item, is for the boss fight that's coming up. I decided to take it a little bit slower on these fans because if I get hit one more time, Musashi's going to die. And I don't feel like restarting from the beginning of the stage right when I'm at the end of the stage. That'd be like 15 minutes probably that I'd have to make up. So now we're at the boss room, and this is one of my favorite bosses because it's one of the easiest bosses and one of the simplest as well. The strategy for it is just use 360 as close to it as you can, and you're going to see that a lot this boss fight. You have to use the Sword of Earth to actually awaken it though. And the first thing I'm going to do is let go of the controller and let Musashi die. Because when you die to bosses, there's no real repercussions. You're going to get all your HP and MP back. It's like a free life. So if you don't have any recovery items or you don't feel like wasting any, you can just die at the start of the boss fight. When it lifts up its hind legs like that and makes that squeal, it's going to go for that attack. And you can evade that attack two ways. You can jump out of the range, or you can use the invincibility from the Sword of Earth. Using the Sword of Earth is actually easier than jumping away from it. The second attack that it has that you're seeing there is where it shoots ink out, and it basically shoots the ink where your previous location in the game was. You can manipulate the locations of the ink, just try to make it so it's not too close to the boss, so you can't do 360s against it. You can jump over that jet of water, but I wouldn't advise it. It's very easy to get hit out of it, and it's sort of strict for the timing of it. But if you use the invincibility of the Sword of Earth once again, you can avoid it. When the boss lets you attack its weak point, use 360 because it doesn't cost any MP and still has a very high amount of damage. It really is one of the most useful moves in the game, especially in the early part of the game, and it has a lot of functions late game too. When the Kraken lifts up its hind legs and then tries to use the water to attack you, as you can see in the front, there's a small area where you might not get hit. You can probably stand there and you may not get hit, but I don't really do that. Because one, it will require you to stand in front of the boss, which is sort of risky, and I usually try to stand at the left or right side as much as I can. But as long as you keep using 360 on it, even in hard difficulty, it shouldn't take that long to kill. And because of the invincibility on the Sword of Earth's attack, it's very easy to evade most of its attacks no matter what you do. One of the reasons I am doing 360s is to destroy the tentacles as well, and if the tentacles grab you, it takes a pretty good amount of damage. The tentacles can also attack you, as you saw at the very start of this, when it killed Musashi. But the majority of this fight is basically avoiding the 3 or 4 attacks it has with the Sword of Earth's invincibility frames, and then attacking the boss after you've done enough damage to where it shows its weak point. I had to go to the menu as fast as I could because I fucked up and I stood in the ink. So I used the 1 HP recovery item that I have left, and I get HP and MP back. Once you start to do enough damage to the Kraken, it will start to change colors. This signifies that it's at low health and it shouldn't take too much longer to kill it. What you saw there is the tentacle attack that the boss rarely uses, and I don't know if it can only use it in that form, because I've seen the boss actually attack Musashi with tentacles earlier, but it didn't attack them with like 3 or 4 of them like that.